This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So welcome everyone to the session today. We'll be welcoming our speakers, Mr. Harvey Reed and Stuart Reed. Just a quick introduction on both of them. First, Harvey Reed is the CEO and founder of the Louisiana Association of Cooperatives, which is a Louisiana-based association of cooperatives representing the interests of socially disadvantaged agricultural groups. Mr. Reed brings more than 30 years of agricultural and fisheries cooperatives experience to his position. He has a passion for agriculture and a strong commitment to the future success of small producers and ranchers. And next, Stuart Reed, who is the Executive Director at the Food Cooperative Initiative. Stuart began providing startup co-op support as the first staff person of Food Co-op 500, a pilot project organized by visionary co-op leaders in 2006. Over the years, he has presented training at national and regional conferences, developed webinars and written guides to provide communities with the information and encouragement they need to successfully start new food co-ops across the U.S. And he will be presenting first today. So you're welcome to start.
All right, thank you very much, Michelle and Ron, for inviting me. As you said, I'm the Executive Director of Food Co-op 500. We're a nonprofit organization. We're a national co-op development center. We work with communities all over the United States that are trying to start new food co-ops. And most of those are consumer-owned businesses. A few are hybrid with consumer worker ownership, and a very, very rare few are actually worker-owned. But regardless, they're a big part of the co-op retail economy. A very successful part that is actually one of the introductions for a lot of people to co-ops, and an opportunity really because of the central nature of a food store in a community for a lot of collaboration and engagement that can work with other kinds of co-ops. So I'm going to share a few slides for you, and if you have questions, is there a chat box that we should be asking people to use? Yeah. You can post your questions, and Michelle, if it's appropriate for you to interrupt me, please do. I won't be able to see the chat while I'm doing this, but otherwise we'll also have time at the end for additional questions. Okay. All right. There we go. So yeah, this is us. This is our fancy logo, and in the little corner there's our development model that we use kind of as a guideline for people to think about how they do development. It's a structure that just helps keep things clear as we go through the development process with people. It can be used in a lot of kinds of businesses and environments, and you know, welcome to find out more about that and anything else I'm talking about today on our website, which is Food Co-op Initiative, or no, it isn't. It's fci.coop. Very simple. Okay. Why will I not advance? There we go. So keeping it simple here, our whole mission is just to help new co-ops get started successfully. In basic terms, that's it. We want them to get off the ground with as much avoidance of pitfalls, avoiding as many hassles as possible, get as successful as possible, and then get open and stay open. And we do that with a very small staff of 3 people working across the country with over 100 communities right now. And we do it a lot through remote means, because obviously we can't be all of those places at once, even though I'd like to be, because working with people in person is always much more rewarding. I'm having just a little bit of trouble with my advancing, so I apologize for the delays. So just again, a little bit about us, and I encourage you, as I said, we're focused on communities starting food co-ops. A lot of our materials would be of value to any kind of co-op, and they're all free. So you know, if you go to our website, we have a resource library. You can browse through that and see if there's things that you can use. We have information about incorporation. We have information about fundraising. We have information about signing up owner members and community engagement, business planning, you name it, everything that you might need to think about on the path toward opening. One of our particularly valuable resources for any kind of a co-op that's going to have a retail presence or even just a physical site is a site, or what's it actually called? It's a real estate guide, which has a lot of really in-depth information about what to consider in a site and how to go about negotiating a good lease or purchase agreement. So that could be of value to just about anybody. And there's other materials in there, I think, that are quite valuable as well. They may not be totally focused on your particular cooperative sector, but again, there's a lot of overlap that we sometimes don't even recognize. And one of the things we do for our food co-ops is a lot of online training, and we try to provide lots of opportunities for people to meet each other, share information, and reinforce messages. We find that when we can tell somebody that the best way to do this in most situations is X, and they'll scratch their heads and think that, well, we can do it differently in our community because we're different. Well, yeah, every community is different. But when you start talking to 3 or 4 co-ops on the phone and 3 of them have done it one way and one of them is trying to do it a different way, it can make a lot more of an impact than just hearing it from one source. So we find that they reinforce each other with good practices, they share great ideas, and it's been really a fun part of our experience. I think we've got 8 of these groups now that meet monthly, 4 or 5 co-ops in a group. And we've got a couple of groups that are Black-led co-ops that wanted to focus together on their work. So there's all kinds of ways you can do it, and it's really a powerful tool. We do a lot of training. Some of these are the Up and Coming conference, which I'm just really pleased to hear that a couple of people on the call attended. We just had it. It was done virtually this year for the first time, and as I said, I hope it's the last time because we really enjoy having everybody together. We have about 300 or more people from 60 or more food co-ops showing up in person at a typical conference, and it's just not only a lot of fun, but there's a lot of information shared. So that's one of our biggest events. We have significant online training. There's a great course on board orientation. Again, it's focused on the boards of consumer-owned co-ops, but there's a lot of great information about board rules, responsibilities, and that might be of value to other folks. And it's free. We do suggest if you can afford to make a donation to help support it, great. But like most of our resources, it's all free. We do some regional conferences. We do 2 webinar series a year, very intensive over a period of a month. We might do a dozen or more training presentations on a variety of topics. And some of those are case studies so that you can actually hear what other people have done to get open to what they've done that's unique and that other people can learn from. Those are very popular, and we do record most of those, or if not all. There's a few that we can't, but most of them are recorded and can be seen on our YouTube channel. And when in a normal year, whatever normal is these days, we do some site visits to visit groups in their own communities and get to see where they're looking at maybe setting up shop and meet the people in person and provide some training and guidance that way. Which is frankly the best part of the job. I love visiting people in their communities and seeing how they're using cooperative model to meet their unique needs of their community, because everyone's different. We do a lot of referrals because we can't do it all. I mean, legal referrals, accounting, all kinds of things that people need, specialized guidance. And we do work with a lot of other organizations to extend our own reach. A lot of cooperative development centers around the country do provide some support to food co-ops, for example, but they don't have the depth of experience that we do. And so we'll partner with them. They help with the local aspects, and we help with the more specific things that they don't have as much experience with. And we're very involved, and I encourage others, anyone in this virtual room, to think about the organizations that are out there that are doing work with the kinds of communities and the kinds of co-ops that you're doing, and partner as much as you can. We're members of an association of cooperative developers. We're members of the National Co-op Business Association. We work closely with other development centers. We work closely with the Black Food and Justice Alliance. And just we have tried to partner with these other organizations both to learn and to make sure that, you know, we are seeing the opportunities and adapting to what's changing in the environment. So it's really important. As co-ops, we have that opportunity. We're not competitive organizations with each other. We support each other, and I'll talk more to that point. But right now, this is a little out of date, but it gives you an idea of where the co-ops are organizing that we're working with. Typically, it's been the Midwest, the Northeast, and the West Coast that have been the strongest areas of development. We are getting more inquiries from more remote rural areas, as so many small rural grocery stores are closing as people retire or they're driven out by the big box stores and the dollar stores. And we're getting a lot more inquiries in the last 5 to 10 years from Black communities. Urban areas that have historically been disenfranchised, redlined, and abandoned by major grocery outlets. If I finally said we've had enough, we'll do it ourselves. We don't need to look to corporate America to fix this problem. It's a cooperative solution. And there's quite a few stores that are coming. One just opened in Dayton, Ohio. There's Flint, Michigan has got a co-op that's going to be in the next year or two. Detroit has got a co-op that's getting ready to start construction this fall. And there's many more. Those are just a few examples of Black-led groups that are making great strides toward bringing cooperatives. And they're organizing a little differently than historic co-ops. So that's a whole story in itself. But again, it's that adaptability of the co-op model to meet the needs of a specific community. It doesn't have to be one size fits all. So this is as I was saying, we don't see each other as competitors in the co-op world. It's actually the principal six. And we've started we created our own verb. We P6 things in the food co-ops, which means that we're sharing great ideas and resources with each other. Somebody sees that you've had a great capital campaign and how you did it, and they said, I'm going to P6 that. So you're welcome to use that if you want, but you don't have to. Anyway, it's referring to principle 6 that cooperatives support other cooperatives. And it's, again, when I'm working with a new startup group, I tell them, well, if you're looking for some general information, some general support, some ideas, talk to the nearby food co-op that's already open. And they say, well, will they share that with us? I mean, it's like proprietary information, isn't it? No, they'll be happy to share it with you. You're another co-op. So it's a totally different concept from the main business world, where you'd never go to a nearby competitor and expect them to share anything of value with you. Very, very rare that can happen. That's a huge advantage that we have, and one that you can use, I believe you can use effectively across different kinds of co-op sectors. So worker-owned co-ops, producer co-ops, service co-ops, food co-ops. We all have things that we can share and work with each other on, and makes the whole co-op community stronger. And you know, the existing co-ops, to varying degrees, will support new co-op development. Everything, I've seen co-ops make small grants to a startup to help them get a market study, for example, to making loans for part of their capital campaign, all kinds of ways that, donating old used equipment is another one. But there's a lot of ways that co-ops can support cooperative development, existing co-ops, and a significant part of our budget does come from food co-ops that contribute to our annual campaign, including the ones that have just opened. They may not even be profitable yet, but they feel strongly enough about what we've done and what the co-op community needs that they'll make a small donation. $250, $500, you know, it's not a lot, but it means more to me than the $5,000 donation I get from a co-op doing $40 million a year, because to them, that's practically a rounding error. Anyway, the other thing that this collaborative principle brings to bear is that co-ops will give priority often to trying to get their goods, services, and from other co-ops. So if you've got a cleaning co-op and you're in the same community with a food co-op, they'd probably be really interested in using your services as opposed to some other business. So again, the reason most food co-ops are consumer-owned co-ops is probably, there's a couple reasons, but one of the big ones is capital. It takes a lot of money to start a grocery store. A typical small co-op might be $1.5 million, and a large co-op, some of the ones that have opened or are planning to open, are in the $7 to $10 million range. Now, raising that kind of money is not easy, and having a very large membership, which is possible in a consumer co-op, means that you can spread that out over more people. And so the initial investment may only be $100 or $200. In some co-ops it's higher, but not much higher. And that can raise, if you've got 1,000 owner members, that's a couple $100,000. So that's a good start, but it's nowhere near a couple $1 million. And the additional investment can come, but doesn't always, from those members making buying non-voting shares or making loans to the co-op themselves, rather than having to go to a bank. So that's that community ownership writ large. And some co-ops are able to raise a very high percentage of their equity that way. In other communities that aren't as wealthy, that money may come from other sources, including social investments, grants, economic development, and job programs. There's any number of ways that can come about. But if it were a worker-owned co-op with a small number of people, especially since very few workers are existent at the time that you're organizing a co-op, raising that kind of money becomes extremely difficult. So that's one of the reasons why food co-ops tend to be consumer-owned. And it allows people to have that ownership stake at a relatively low investment. Co-ops have as low as $75, as high as highest one I know of, I think, was $400, but it's legal to go a little higher than that. And many co-ops have programs for people that can't easily afford even that relatively low investment of $75, allowing them to either pay in over time or to have that subsidized by some other source of funding so that they pay a reduced price to join, making it possible for even any community, no matter what the wealth level, to get people engaged and involved and with an ownership share, which is so important. It's that ownership of the business changes the whole way people think about it and their loyalty and their role in the community even. So very important. Another thing about consumer-owned co-ops is they historically have been very strong supporters of the local environment, the local business environment. 20 to 30% of the products sold in a typical food co-op are coming from locally sourced, from farmers, value-added producers, everything from the produce department to meat, eggs, cheese, honey. You never know. There's soap, candles. There's so many things that can be produced locally people don't even think about, and those things aren't going to be found in your big supermarkets, in your Kroger's and your Hy-Vees and whatever. They just aren't. They don't buy that way. So that's one way that co-ops support a stronger community, is by keeping that money in the community and helping to keep smaller local farms alive and well by providing a steady market for them. And it really makes a big difference. I have more than once had a farmer tell me, I wouldn't be here anymore farming. I wouldn't have been able to keep going if the co-op hadn't opened and provided us a market. It was just, we were so close to closing, and now they treat us well, they pay us well, they pay us on time, and we know what we can sell to them. It's an amazing thing. It's one of the strongest collaborative aspects of co-ops that I've seen. And that's not the only way that co-ops can support their own communities. Almost every co-op I know has a program where customers can put money in a jar or round up to the nearest dollar or something like that. And then the money that's collected is given to a local charity that's often chosen by the members of the co-op. They'll decide on the 12 different charities for the year, and every month a different one gets all of the contributions. There's other ways that they support. They support food shelves heavily with almost this very low waste product that's nearing date or maybe bruised produce or whatever that's still usable is donated and gets used instead of being put into the landfill. So that consciousness of community and the environment really a huge part of the value of the co-op chain. So I mentioned some of this already, I guess, but there's so many ways that you can collaborate in the co-op system, and food co-ops are, because so many people are in contact there. Not only do a typical co-op have over 1,000 owner members at the time they open, but that can grow to tens of thousands over time. And there's all the shoppers that may not even be owners that come through the store. So it's an opportunity to really expose yourself or other businesses through collaboration or presence in that store. And co-op customers are already predisposed to support co-ops. So it's a great opportunity, either by advertising in their newsletter, by working in the store, by finding ways that you can do programs or events together. You can support each other in ways that promote both businesses. Yeah. The other thing that co-ops have, where it's an opportunity for other co-ops and new businesses to participate, is that almost every co-op has a strong learning program. It's also one of the co-op principles, education. And food co-ops often have rooms set aside for doing classes and cooking classes and other education classes. And they're always looking for people that can share. So if you've got a small business producing, and this is a real example, there's a business that makes pickles, a cooperative worker co-op that makes pickles. There's another one that I know of that makes fermented vegetables, sauerkraut and such. You know, they would love to have you come in and talk about how your process works, or maybe how you can make a simple sauerkraut at home, or how to do basic canning. These programs they're always looking for people, and that's an exposure for you and your business. Bicycle co-op offer a free day of basic bicycle repair instruction. The opportunities are endless for potentials there for interaction. And not only do they are looking for people that are willing to share their knowledge, they also have people that can share their knowledge with your group. So it can go to both ways. If you wanted to have, if you've got a healthcare co-op and you wanted somebody to talk about nutrition or about how to use some gluten-free products and adapt your diet, there's probably somebody from a co-op that could help you with a program like that. So all of these things are ways that you can collaborate and expand and both businesses' visibility, which is how you grow your business, of course. Being visible, being trusted, being seen in the community. So lots of opportunities for exposure that way. Talking about early as we were getting on the call about the need for co-ops to be strong and grow successfully. And really community engagement is just top of that list, no matter how you do it. But always being aware of how the community perceives you and actively working to build trust and respect in the community for the quality of what you provide and just the credibility of your business. They know they can come to you, get a fair price, a good product, good service, whatever it is you're doing. So other opportunities for collaboration, a lot of co-ops support urban farms, which is becoming a more and more popular way for communities to start providing access to healthier food. It's a lot less expensive, a lot less complicated than opening a grocery store, but of course it's limited in what you can provide that way. But co-ops will support those urban farms and often buy from them as well. It's a good, co-ops are looking for places to do field trips sometimes. So it's, again, another exposure opportunity and a way to engage more people. And you know, tabling. If you are an urban farm, or even if you're not an urban farm, but maybe a local area farm, Co-ops are always looking for people that are wanting to come into the store and sample. And it connects the shoppers directly to farmers. Again, building trust, putting a face behind the product, and it really builds a lot of loyalty. So again, opportunities for different kinds of co-ops to get engaged and get exposure, and that help you grow your business. If you're a tech co-op or you're looking at a tech co-op startup, food co-ops, I mean, the food industry is more tech heavy than people realize. It's all computerized, all, you know, it's going to, you know, you've got some of the stores out there now from Amazon where you don't even have a checkout. You just walk out the door and it automatically bills you. I mean, talk about tech heavy. Food co-ops are not going there. They're much more interested in the relationship with the customer, and real engagement with real people is still part of what we do. But we rely very heavily on computerized systems for ordering and tracking inventory, things like that. So they're all, and building websites and social media platforms. So there's lots of opportunities if you're in the tech field to work with food co-ops, because they prioritize local vendors, you know, and like to be working with another co-op. There you go. You might have an in. If you're engaged in economic empowerment in one form or another, either as a co-op or as some kind of a nonprofit entity, that again is one of our core values for food co-ops as well. That's why the people that shop there own the store. The people that shop there that are owners are the ones that will benefit if the store is profitable. So we're all about economic empowerment. And there's so many relationships that co-ops have with businesses and vendors. many more. A co-op is a fraction of the size of a Walmart, but they work with more vendors than Walmart does, an individual store, because they're looking to work with smaller producers and local producers. They're not buying everything from one main distribution source. And they are the anchor business in a neighborhood. Grocery stores attract other businesses. They draw traffic that supports other businesses. So they really are a powerful economic empowerment tool in a community, is to maintain a strong local grocery store or to rebuild one when there isn't one. You know, I have just a few examples because I didn't know which kind of co-ops people might be working on or thinking about. But for you, even there are construction co-ops out there. And so again, the co-op may be a customer. They need remodeling. They may have expansion projects. They need just repairs even. And they will, because they want to support other local cooperative businesses, they would help promote your business. So my point here is basically that no matter what kind of co-op you're working on or thinking about, there is probably a way you can collaborate and work closely with a food co-op in your community to accomplish your goals and to, you know, expand your presence in the community. So there's my direct contact information and our website, and anybody on the call is welcome to be in touch with questions about any aspect of what I've talked about or anything else, because I just love to talk co-ops. And I will do my best to be helpful in sharing information and finding resources that are appropriate. So that is my formal part of the presentation. And let's see, how do I shut off? There we go. And Ron, you could, if people are interested in the slides, you're welcome to share them with people if they ask, or if you contact me, I will send them to you as well.
Well, thank you, Stuart. I know we have some growers in the space here and some others that are right now operating cooperatives. And Stuart is traveling, so he won't be staying with us the entire session. So if any questions you have right now that you'd like to share with Stuart or comments, this is the time where you can do such.
Let me have it. Yeah.
No questions? All right. Well, Stuart, you must have gave them everything they need to know.
Either that or I put them all to sleep. I hope it's the first though. And you know, the questions may come later and that's fine. That's why I share my contact information.
Thanks.
Please,
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Stuart, and thank you for taking the time out on your travels. Most importantly,
my pleasure. I'm gonna go out in the hot sun looking for rocks.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know that there are people who are working in this space that are practicing those 7 principles, and you happen to be, since I've met you, one of those persons. When called upon, you step to the plate, and you're always willing to contribute your experiences and your knowledge to growing and helping others grow. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Ron, and I'm happy that you invited me to be part of this, and look forward to continuing.
All right then. Well, we'll let you go, and
All right. Well, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your session today, and good luck with your projects, whatever they may be.
well, thank you, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Stuart.
So Stuart has led us off with a opening presentation, and Michelle, you want to take it from here because I'm going to pass it back to you.
I believe now, Harvey, you can start presenting if you would like.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Ron, Michelle, and the rest of the group. I want to thank Stuart for giving me that intro. I think a lot that Stuart said this morning resonate with the things that I've seen over the years that I've been involved in working with co-ops and also working with agriculture. But it is true that co-ops are one of the main things that keeps everything's going, especially in countries outside of the United States. Co-ops are really important because there's places like, say for instance, Costa Rica. Costa Rica itself operates on cooperatives. The entire government operates on cooperatives. You know, they don't have an army. We protect Costa Rica. You look at Japan, you know, as much as Japan does, they operate on cooperatives as well. They have a large co-op bank, which is a few $1 billion short of the Berkshire's bank. So that's how much money goes through cooperatives, especially on a large scale. But one of the things I want to share with you all this morning, and thank you all for being here this morning, is that, you know, co-ops have been around for quite a long time. I think, I don't know if my slides are up or anything else like that, but co-ops have been around for quite a long time. And some historians say co-ops have been around before the birth of Christ. And because I think during the Desert Storm, when he was over there to take care of freeing everybody over there in Iraq, they found some places over there that was considered as a housing cooperative. They didn't know that until they uncovered everything under the dust and under the sand and what have you. They found the housing cooperatives that had been there for quite a few thousands of years. So, because people have been involved in commerce and has developed into co-ops ever since the turn, you know, ever since, you know, since this earth has been here, we have been communicating and trading with one another and what have you. As Stuart has stated in regards to the food cooperatives, you have a lot of those that are really flourishing right now. And I looked at his map and saw where he had those co-ops that he was involved with on both heavily on the East Coast and also on the West Coast. If you looked in the middle of his map, if you notice that, there was very few in that particular area because that's more or less the grain belt. You know, they do a lot of things over there dealing with grain. A little background about me. Not only that I work with the Louisiana, well, I helped to start the Louisiana Association of Cooperatives. It was centered around fisheries. And we did that right after the Hurricane Katrina because the farmers and the fishermen couldn't do much except for especially the fishermen. So they had to go back and do some other things. So they wanted to start a fishing cooperative before they got back in the water, which was great. We did that for several years and still continues. And agriculture came on board as well. We dealt with goat cooperatives because what I deal with is all multifaceted, because when it comes to our front door, we have to address it. We have goat cooperatives that came to our front door. Then we had, the livestock that came to our front door. We had to address that as well. But working with co-ops has given me a wide, broad range of seeing how the world operates, especially when it comes down to us surviving on this earth. I had a chance to work with Land O'Lakes. They had sent me down to Jamaica. I spent a few weeks down there working with the cooperatives down there, which is very unique. They didn't have an office. The office was one big palm tree with heavy, heavy leaves that they sat there and made their decisions on what they was going to do for their cooperatives. They did a lot of things dealing with collards and as well as watermelons and what have you. And they were very profitable because, especially around Montego Bay and also Negril, they shipped a lot of the materials to the Jamaican communities up in the United States from Jamaica, in which they used the Jamaican Airlines to get everything up here, which only took them a few hours to process it through customs, put it on a plane, in a container called an LD3 container, and then shipped it up. And it went to the Boston market. From there, everything was all distributed. So you can see how cooperatives work and how the world works around cooperatives. Being here in Louisiana has allowed me to get involved with a lot of other agriculture industries, and especially cooperatives. At the present time, I serve as the president of the National Conference of State Councils of Cooperatives. These cooperatives has been around, this particular cooperative has been around since 1919. I'm the first Afro-American to sit in the seat as the president of this particular National Conference of State Council Cooperatives. At this time, we cover 22 states. And that allowed me to see a lot of things that goes on in this world, especially in this country. Because when I make my visits to those particular states to visit those cooperatives, under those association of cooperatives, they have other cooperatives under them. There's a broad range of cooperatives that lead from this, as Stuart was saying, not only consumer cooperatives, but also for various amount of different types, grain, even milk. That was a big thing up in New York State, because Cornell University has a cooperative up there that they work with the dairy industry. And I don't know what's going on. Can y'all see me or the screen?
We see you, but we don't see your slides.
Okay, because I think I sent them in, but I can, if you don't mind, I can talk around them if you don't mind, if you don't see them. If you don't.
Yeah.
Would you like me to share them for you?
Yes, that'd be good. I'll make those available to everyone as well. But while you're doing that, I can still say some things that we've been talking about, especially picking up where Stuart left off at. Because as Stuart mentioned, okay, there we are. Let's go to the next slide, which was the introduction. I think I did that. Okay, right there. Having a cooperative is work. And when I mean work, it takes you to take time to sit there and work with other folks that you have volunteered to start this cooperative. Don't think everything's gonna happen overnight. As Stuart was saying, how much it costs to really start a cooperative. And whatever we did that, no one is getting paid initially because you have not opened the door up. And one thing that we encourage people to form a steering committee having a steering committee alleviates having an immediate board, because that'll take away from having individuals that will take full ownership and not knowing that it's not like that. It's controlled by the members, and those are the benefits that comes through that, not having anybody else that doing that. And having a steering committee allows you to select who's going to be the next coming officers once you open the door and elect those permanent positions for as the president, chair, or whatever you want to call it, and all the other positions according to board training, what have you. So that's really important. And if you go to the next slide, Michelle, dealing with the benefits. These are the benefits. These are just some of the benefits that can come out of a cooperative in regards to a lot of things I'm going to say today. I'm just going to piggyback off the top of Stuart, so we could just tie this whole thing in as one session. Because as he was saying about sharing your benefits with your community and what have you, a lot of communities that we work with are involved in, they're really socioeconomically depressed communities. So we have to really work with them really closely to make sure that they have the things they need to work with. Because your prices are much better than some of the prices with the big box cooperatives, especially when it comes down to food and other services. You have to make prices equitable that would meet the needs of the people in that community, in that surrounding. And sometimes you have people traveling from one county to another county just to visit your particular operation. And you may have the name co-op on that particular business, or you may not, but you'll still be looked upon as a co-op. You can operate as a co-op. And they allow the members to have preferences in the things that they need to do in regards to setting the prices, making sure that people have access to credit. And also, this is your business, because it's not controlled by government, it's controlled by the members. The members control your cooperative. That's the most important thing. Allowing those members to have access to everything that goes on, and also negotiating power. You have to sit there and negotiate with other industries or other cooperatives to share your resources with one another in order to get it to market and meet the needs of the people. Now, this is going to be very, very important in the days ahead, because a lot of things has changed after this pandemic. You will find that some places where you can get things for a price before the pandemic, and now this price has gone up. And one of the claims are that you can't get people to come to work, or they have to, it's costing them more to keep their doors open. So when that happens, they have to increase their price. That's why members also invest, they invest their time in being in the cooperative, so they have a financial stake in the organization, which means that when those profits comes in, there's what they call a patronage. And so that goes back to those that are members of the cooperative. They get a patronage check that comes to them, and that is decided upon at the board meetings on what type of patronage pay is going to be paid to those particular cooperatives. Next slide, please. Now, I would like to say, as I go on, stop me anytime, so I can go back and address the question that you would like to hear, because I don't want to get too far out and you forget about what you want to ask, and the next thing you know, that thought is lost. As Stuart related to this particular group this morning, there's all types of cooperatives, And the cooperatives, it's a typical business, but it's owned by the members. The members could consider 5 people all the way to thousands of people that owns a cooperative, that has a stake in that particular cooperative. It's a private business, and they all share the same financial risk. So that's why it's very, very important to make sure that those that are in the cooperative don't go out there and make those bad business decisions that's going to cost you a lot of money. And one thing I want to stress with you all, do not get involved in antitrust in your business, which means don't sit there and withhold a bits of services or commodity to drive the price up. Doing that, and you're subject to be charged with antitrust. And it don't take long for that to happen because you're holding some things back. Case in point, I think it was back in 1957, right here in the South, oysters, they held the oysters off the market for quite a while to drive the prices up. And they got driving the prices up on the oysters when they finally put them on the market. So those individuals that was involved in that particular scheme, they all saw jail time. That's how serious it is. It's jail time for that. So don't think because you're in business, you can just drop the prices up to make an extra dollar and what have you. And next thing you know, you get caught. So that's why everybody has to watch one another because every financial risk falls on the shoulders of all the members and the users in that particular cooperative. So that's something that you have to really, really look at. You may be doing good at the same time. Don't get there and try to do that antitrust or try to gouge your prices, and especially after a disaster, you're gonna boost everything up 1,000%. No, that's not going to work, especially the cooperative. They'll look at a cooperative much faster than they'll look at a Fortune 500 company. And they'll shut you down in a minute and they'll be delighted to send you off to jail. So I just want to give you some advice on that because I've seen it happen before. Let's go to the next slide. This is going to be quite interesting in having access. A little background history. Again, I'm going to relate to what Stuart has presented to you all this morning in regards to the urban agriculture and the urban cooperatives and also urban agriculture. It was several years ago, we had a meeting with the National Agriculture Statistical Services. Those are the ones that does the census for agriculture. And one thing that was not on the table was they weren't doing the census for agriculture, urban agriculture. And we had to more or less force their hand and say, look, these folks, it's increasing the population that's different from the rural area. You have to count the urban agriculture industry because it varies from cooperatives to small stores, sidewalks, or even farmers markets. There's a lot of those that has to be counted. So it didn't take us long it took us one meeting to have the director as well as the administrators to realize that urban agriculture should be placed on the census list and what have you. And from urban agriculture came, they started counting the food cooperatives. And those now are being counted as part of the census. The urban agriculture, along with the urban food cooperatives, and also the food pantries and food banks, they all are being counted. Because just keep in mind, because we forgot that there was a population out there that people would do. Even the roadside person that was selling stuff on the roadside, they could be counted also. And now this administration is pouring money into the cooperative initiatives because before, there wasn't that much being done for cooperatives to get the services that they need from rural development. And rural development was strictly dealing with the rural area, knowing that the rural area wasn't operating as many cooperatives as they were doing in the urban area. So now all that has changed because we had to change that because the population has shifted from the rural to the urban area. So now those particular programs are available. Just this past week, if you check Eurogrants.gov, there's a proposal out there for Cooperative Development Center. And that's something that I know that Ron and I had talked about for quite a while. Those funds are there now because this administration is putting those funds out there for the Cooperative Development Centers. And that would help you out a great deal too. Because as Stuart alluded to, that he's involved with the National Cooperative Business Organization, which is, they've done a lot, and they work closely up there in the area where you all are in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So look into that because those things are available to you all. And I stress now, Don't let it go by. Look at it and see exactly where you fit in there and where your organization fit in there. Excuse me. But you have to have access to those markets. And that's one market, because to realize one thing, in the USDA, your tax dollars are the ones that keep them operating. So, and that's the most important thing, operating, because you're able to get the, if you're able to get the business, the Cooperative Business Center set up, that'll help you out to draw more people in for training and what have you, and developing more cooperatives. Because my main purpose that I do right now, that I thought I would never do, I've been called upon to look at different cooperatives, different type of cooperatives all across the country, and also within within our network of cooperatives. Because our National Conference of State Council Cooperatives, we work hand in hand with the National Council of Farmers Cooperatives. And those individuals are like Land O'Lakes, Ocean Spray, Sunkiss, Blue Diamond Almonds, Sun-Made Raisins, all of those, all cooperative. Welch's is a cooperative. All of those are cooperatives. And believe me, they do have a supply chain that may need some of the products that you all may have, that they'll be able to work with you as well. Because a lot of folks, even if you look at the Ocean Spray drinks, you'll see a family and they'll tell you that family is a cooperative member that sells their goods and services to Ocean Spray, so they can do what they have to do. Our cooperatives up in the Wisconsin area deal a lot with the milk and the eggs. And
I'm sorry, what was the name of that organization?
Ocean Spray? National Council of Farmers Cooperatives.
The National Council of Farmers Cooperative?
Right. Their offices are in the DC in the area. And we work hand in hand with them. They're more or less our big brothers at the national level. The National Conference of State Council Cooperatives, what we do legislative work, we do cooperative development, we do workshops. Each state have their own DNA on what they do. And whenever we need anything done legislative wise, we call upon the National Conference Council of Farmers Cooperatives. When they need a call for letters of support for an issue that's on the table in Congress, and they need letters of support, they'll call us, and we'll provide the letters that they need to send to their congressional people to move this particular initiative forward. So now, as you see how cooperatives work hand in hand with one another, not only moving goods and services, but also legislative-wise to get things done. So that's why I advise you all, when you get started, don't think because you can't get politically connected, you have to. You have to do that to let them know that these issues are there, because some states would not allow you to have a cooperative because they don't want to impede the businesses of a large box business, or get there to have you to take away some of the financials that will be going to a certain company and what have you. So that's why it's very, very important to stay connected with that, because the group that I'm involved with, I'll be sitting there until September. That's a 2-year seat. We have a rotating type thing in each state. I know Ron and we had talked about doing something up there in the Maryland area and what have you, once everything gets started, so they could become part of the network that works throughout the country. We have it all the way from Washington State, Washington, all the way down to the Carolinas. So we work heavily and we constantly communicate with one another, because as Stuart was talking about the co-ops, the food co-ops on the East Coast and the West Coast, and there was not too much in the middle because a lot of grain grows in there. And this is where we have about 4 states in there that does a lot of grain, that ships it out, and they're cooperatives. And this are multi-billion-dollar businesses. And we work with that. We work with Co-op Bank that's out of Carolina. That helps us out a great deal. And they're looking to get smaller cooperatives involved because for the last several years, it's always been the large cooperatives. They want to get the smaller ones involved. So you have access to that as well. But one of the things before you do that, you have to have a strong business structure. Once you have that in place, then you'll be able to move the way you want to move. Next slide, please. Now, this is nothing here. The focus cooperative. A lot of folks don't talk about that, but that is something that you should look at real carefully. It's nothing tangible, it's intangible. It's just letting you know that you got to be a good neighbor, as Stuart was saying, you know, through your educational training and your financial support. I mean, you take your bottom line, dollars and what have you, give something back to the community, because most communities are socially, economically struggling. You got to give it back to them. If you have a large facility, open it up at certain times for people to do certain things and what have you. This is where the training comes in. You're giving something back to your community. All of this is a focused cooperative. You're focusing on your community, your area, or your radius that you're working with. That's something that could be a byproduct, you know, with your cooperative. Because doing that, you know, most cooperatives, all cooperatives, for as structure-wise, the governance is important. You got to be democratic. And also empower your members, empower the people that you service. That's the main thing. Governance is democratic. One person don't run the cooperative. It's ran by everyone. And I advise you all who are involved in cooperatives, when you come down to governance and what have you, don't go there thinking you're going to be there for a lifetime. That's not true. I tell most folks in training when they sit there, you know, when they're moved up the ladder to president, chairman, or co-chairman, or what have you, don't pack your bags because you're not going to be there long. Because in the co-op, if they decide that I or Ron or anybody on this panel today is not doing a great job, all they have to do is give you a vote of no confidence, you pack your bags and you go. You can go to EEO, and you can go to any court you want and what have you. It's a cooperative. That's the way it's ran. So no one family runs a cooperative. It's ran by the members. They're the ones who control that, the cooperatives. Next slide, please. The growth of the cooperatives is really important. You have to keep chart on how your cooperative is growing. What are you doing? Where are you? Where were you last year? Where are you now? Are you doing the right thing? Are you servicing the local area? If you reached out to the regional areas, because they're looking for some things as well. And that's the way you stretch out. You're moving your cooperative, you're moving it all about. And you could have one cooperative that may develop up there in the in the Maryland area, but that same cooperative operates in Texas under the same name, doing the same thing you have, because you're able to expand. So no cooperative, because you're incorporated in that particular state, that you're bound to stay there. No, you're not bound to stay there. But the main thing is to make sure before you begin to expand that you've done everything you need to make that cooperative stable, and that the jobs are there, and that you're meeting the industry requirement. They need to know what you're doing in order for you to help them and how they can help you. So it's a two-way street. So one person just don't run everything. It's ran by the members, and you got to stretch it out. Give you a prime example. Take, for instance, the Walmart. You know, those of y'all are sitting there, I guess you all have a Walmart card, am I correct? And I guess you pay your membership dues to Walmart, right? So, which means that they used to give you some dividends back based upon the amount of purchases that you have. But I don't think they do that in certain places at this time. Walmart was based upon the same premises of a cooperative, but it's not a cooperative. You know, it's a private, you know, closed business and what have you. But they sell memberships. But none of us go in there and vote who's going to be the next officer or anything else. We don't vote on the expansion of Walmart. We don't vote on the depletion of a store. We're not going to have the store here. This is not generating the cash that we projected. So a lot of stores that you have out here where you have membership, in there, they operate on the same premises of a cooperative because you have members and that sells. And it makes sure to give you the right prices in comparison to what Walmart would give you versus Costco's. Okay, there's some other, you know, membership type food places there. It's not only just a food chain, it's also other commodities and other goods and services that sells you membership, because memberships has been around a long time, and cooperatives memberships are strong because you need people to pay the membership dues in order for the cooperative to operate. So, and also for you to get the things that need to get done and make at least good friends with your loan officer at the bank or the credit union. Because when I get a little bit further, you're going to realize these folks are really essential to the operation of your cooperative. Because I found working with those cooperatives across the country, I've seen a lot that goes on. I've seen a lot from through the workers' cooperatives. You know, I've seen some things through them, and I didn't know. It kind of shocked me one time. They had the annual meeting here in New Orleans, and there was some ladies there that was part of the workers' cooperatives, and they were just helping out a great deal and what have you. But I kind of figure out, say, now who are these ladies and what have you? Well, they were exotic dancers from Canada. They had their own co-op. You can co-op anything. You can co-op anything you want to co-op, as long as you have a purpose for that particular cooperative. You know, it's just the opposite of having a union, but it's, you know, you're not there threatening anybody or not there putting pressure on the institution. You're there trying to give some goods and services and do something that's going to take care of your community that you're trying to service. So you have to really understand the nature of cooperatives and knowing that this is what I want to get involved with. And as Stuart was saying earlier, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to cost to create a cooperative. And people got to be ready to roll up their sleeves and get there and work to make sure that the cooperative itself will survive. So that's the most important thing, that you make sure the cooperative survive. You have to look ahead. Don't just sit there and be comfortable. We're doing good right now, but where are you going to be next year? Where are you going to be in the next 6 months? What you're going to do? Do you have a plan? Anytime you decide, this is dealing with growth, if you feel as though you're not growing fast enough and you're not doing the things you need to do, and you feel as though, and the group feels as though we're not moving, what should we do? You can do two things. Number one, you can exit, just get out completely. Shut the co-op down, dissolve everything, and get out. Or you can go in there and rebrand yourself. You got to rebrand yourself. Now we need to make some changes. If we don't leave, we got to sit here. Now we got to rebrand and see exactly where we went wrong and what we need to do. And mark that spot where the problem happened, because you don't want to go back there again. You don't want to go back there again. You want to make sure that you're going to cure that particular situation and put some restraints in there that it doesn't happen again, whatever it was that may have caused you to make a decision that you may want to leave out not being a cooperative. I've seen it happen many times. I've seen it happen many times in Louisiana. We've had cooperatives go low. Now they all are shut down. We had one grain cooperative. I mean, they were doing extremely good. They were moving grain a lot in the northeastern part of Louisiana, but they had one problem. They were in there, you know, cooking the books. One day, Federal officers and marshals came in there, got everybody out, took receivership of the organization, and they began to start prosecuting everybody because they had, you don't do that. You don't do that. And that's the main thing. Well, that's one way of shutting down a cooperative. They shut it down completely. They had brand new grain silos and everything else. We put a bid in there for the grain silos. We put a bid in there for $500,000 just for the sake of it. And somehow, because of politics, they sold it to somebody else for $400 million. We didn't have no money. We just put a bid in there. But the other person bought it for $400 million. A bunch of doctors thought they was going to take it and flip it. They never flipped it. Never flipped it. And they came back. They didn't know that they was bidding against us. A few years later, they asked us if we wanted to buy their grain silos that they had. And they wanted to sell it to us for $2 million. And they bought it for $4 million. But they didn't know that it was bidding against us. So these are the things, these are the conflicts you get involved with in working with cooperatives. You know, people try to do things so you're underhanded and what have you. That's why I said you got to be, you know, upfront in what you're doing. This is what you want to do, the cooperatives. That's why, you know, individuals like Stuart and his organization is so successful. And there's many more out there that is flourishing, because you got to do the right thing. As Ron stated earlier and told Stuart about following the 7 principles. The principles wasn't put there just for the sake of it because it was nice words, it was nice, you know, statements and what have you. No, they were there for you to follow. You know, don't deviate from them. Follow those 7 principles, and it's going to take you all the way. And that's the main thing about the cooperatives. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, we're going to go to the, again, Michelle, the workers' cooperatives. As I explained it earlier, you know, those workers' cooperatives is owned, you know, by the workers. It's just that, we'll give you an example, because we had a nursing home here in New Orleans, and the staff over at the nursing home that was taking care of the laundry and also the culinary, they wanted to not get a union, they wanted to get a workers' cooperative. And they were able to do it because the ownership of the nursing facility, it was a chain, nursing facilities, and they didn't mind giving this particular group, allowed them to start a workers' cooperative. It wasn't a union, which is a workers' cooperative, which means that they became owners of handling all of the laundry supplies for the nursing home. Also, they was in charge of all the culinary. It was their business. They designed everything they needed, and all the proceeds went to them. Everything went to them, and they was making much more working for themselves and not being under the hand of the ownership of the organization that had the workers that had the nursing home. I don't think the nursing home wanted this to go all the way through the whole system, but this one particular nursing home, and they did real good. They did real good. But the only problem we had a hurricane come through here called Katrina that really wiped them out. So they couldn't do anything thereafter. But the years that they were involved, they handled all the culinary, they handled all of the laundry, and they set their rules, who was off, who was on, and what have you. And it was so much fun sitting there talking to those individuals and watching how they operate, and especially when they want to hold a meeting, and watch how they held the meeting. It was all done democratically, but they all knew where they were going. And these are folks that came from a socially, economic, depressed community that came in there and had their own business. Nobody wrote about them. Nobody went down there and did a story or this, that, and the other, but they were operating and they was doing real good. They were doing much better for themselves than they were under the working directly for the nursing home chain. So you find those things. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Because I'm just going to give you some examples of those things that happens. You know, next slide, please. Consumer work cooperatives. That's what Stuart alluded to when he was talking about what happens, on those workshops, on those cooperatives, on the consumers cooperatives, it's like, so it's just like a Walmart. I don't have anything against Walmart, nothing at all, because they use that good. But same way you can do the same thing too, but you meet in that particular community. For a long time, Walmart was not allowed to come into any major city. They stayed there in Arkansas. Every time they wouldn't even let a Ben Franklin come into a major city. They all stayed in the rural area until Walton just got off his top and said, we're gonna break the glass ceiling. No city wanted Walmart to come into their major city. Now you can't get them out. And that's the same way it is with cooperatives. It's like a land of lakes. You use their materials all the time. They butter, they milk, they this, they that. They do that. That's what they're all about. Ocean spray, they do the same thing. Even though they're located in one place, Ocean Spray get a lot of their fruits from South America. But they do a lot here in America as well. But there's certain type of fruits they want to use for certain drinks we don't grow here. It's grown in South America, so they have to get that and ship it up here. You look at sun-made raisins over there in California on what they do. Not only that they do a lot with raisins and the grapes and what have you, but they also give back to their community. A lot of these large cooperatives, they have grants and they subsidize organizations that's in the area. Look into that when you start your cooperative, see how they can fit in and how they feel about working with you. They want to support their community because you're the ones who buy their products. You're not competing against them. You may want to do a clothing type cooperative that has nothing to do with Land O'Lakes is doing in the dairy. They're not putting clothes on cows or anything else like that, but they'll give you the grants. It happens all the time. If y'all can see the shirt here, it's saying GICL. We call it GELCO. That's the Graduate Institute of Cooperative Leaders. The council that I sit on, the National Conference of State Council of Cooperatives, in order to sit there, you have to go to this institution. It's up in University of Missouri. It costs quite a few $1,000s to sit there. They go to the Graduate Institute. And how we get there is that those cooperatives that I just mentioned, they're the ones who pay for us because we all work hand in hand with one another. When you go there, it's nonstop. You learn a lot about theory and disciplines and everything else with cooperatives. So this is what you work with. So that's why I'm proud to wear this shirt and I'm proud to wear it today to let you all know opportunities are there for you to take place, for you to go. It may not be there in the University of Missouri. There's other universities that's trying to do the same thing too. That's going to give you the opportunity to learn more or less about co-op theory and what have you. Since I'm on that subject, Ohio State. There's one of our colleagues said, we call it the Ohio State, as you do in football. They have their own cooperative development center, not on campus. It's off campus in another little small city, not too far from the university, but it's still Ohio State. And that's all they do. They train, develop, and everything else. They have their own community, they have their own cooperative development center. So those centers are there. Those centers are there for you to gain the knowledge and also talk to one another. So you're not competing against one another, you're helping one another. I may have a nut and bolt that you may need to go on a certain piece of equipment. But just because I have that, I'm going to just say I'm going to gouge the price for you. If I sell you thousands of boxes of those nuts and bolts, we're making thousands of dollars on the bolts that we're selling to you. And you're profiting and we're profiting because what you're making doesn't even apply to what we're doing. We're just trying to help you out. Next slide, please. Nope, this one. Next slide. That's the one. Okay, that's the slide that got mixed up. Okay, that's no problem. Credit unions. Credit unions are cooperatives. Just because it has a last name on it, just that and the other, it's a cooperative. Because you have members in there that pays, and they deposit money. And also you're able to vote. They don't tell you all the time, but you're able to go in there and vote for officers and vote for things that they want to do. A credit union may want to have one credit union right here, but the next thing, they have so much deposit, and they may need a credit union in another part of the area, in that particular community, whether it's urban or rural. You can go to that credit union and let it be known that we need one over here on this side of town. And let them do the survey, and they'll say, we'll put a credit union over there. As long as depositors are coming there, we'll put a credit union there. That's why you see so many credit unions popping up right now all along the country. They're there to service the population, service the members. It's not because the credit union is there, they're going to give money to J.C. Penney's and this, that, and the other. No, they're going to give money to you because you're a depositor there and you're a cooperative just like them. Co-ops take care of themselves. We take care of one another. We don't frown upon anything. We may just fuss and cuss and with one another all the time. When it comes time to business, it's time for us to take care of the business. Our job is to service the community. Service those that are buying our product, service the market, service it. Next slide. The slide purchasing cooperative. That's sort of what I was saying earlier about this particular workers cooperative, because they were able to provide us all the supplies that was needed and also purchase all the food that was needed for that particular nursing facility. But we encouraged them to buy the supplies from a cooperative that was selling supplies that they were needed. We encouraged them to buy the food that they needed for the cooperative from a food co-op or from a large food cooperative initiative. And that's the way you operate. Just because you're making the money that you're going to forget about the other cooperative that's on the corner that may need your services. They're going to need your money. They're going to need that in order for you to operate and for them to operate. Because the first time that independent person who's not a cooperative decide to go out of business or move, you're stuck. And that person that you should have gone to, initially they had a cooperative, now you got to go back there begging to them. I can't buy this, I can't get this, and I can't get that because they have moved and we have no way of getting the supply or purchasing these particular food commodities. So don't start that type of culture. Go there and support your local cooperative. You support them and they're going to support you. That's the way you're going to obtain your goods and services from each and every one. That's what you have to do. You have to go there and get this stuff done. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be lost. Next slide, please. Your marketing cooperative. You see that all the time. All the time. I mean, you're probably wearing clothing and shoes that came from some form of marketing cooperative that has a piece of material that you're using to keep you dressed and keep your shoes on your feet came from one of those cooperatives. Because they're able to market these things in the proper manner to make sure that, they take care of the retailers or the wholesalers that you're buying things from. Because some of the smaller stores you see there that sell certain commodities that's on a smaller scale, they're cooperatives. They're a chain of them. They're a chain of them. Marketing cooperatives are very, very important. That's the arm that gets your product out there in front of everyone that needs to see what you have. That's the most important thing. Any questions thus far? I see everybody's still awake, so that's good. Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
I had to turn my mic again. So can you give us an example of a marketing cooperative? Or
Well, yeah, a name one. You can look at Welch's Welch's products, because even though they make the products, but also they have a way of marketing their product, to get in front of your face every time. Now, even through the newspaper, either on TV with the certain commodities and what have you. And there's various commodities that these companies make, and they have to get it out there. So they have their own marketing staff that makes sure that they reach that particular market. I mean, they've already know your demographics, and that's the thing that you have to really be sure of your demographics. No sense of you marketing Volkswagen and in a community where they all are using Rolls Royce and Bentleys and what have you. So, and that's the main thing, and you can develop your own marketing cooperative to help anybody on this panel to move their goods and services, because you have something that you have a talent, and you have the technology, and you have the computers, and you have the network of moving things back and forth. So all you're doing is moving things on these marketing cooperatives. You're helping other people to move their goods and services to other areas where they could be bought and sold and given away. So that's the main thing about the marketing cooperatives. You can co-op almost anything.
Right.
Anything.
Dad,
I'm sorry, what was that question?
I have a question. Like,
Wait.
in New Orleans,
You can't say Dad, you gotta say Mr. Hart, okay?
Mr. Harvey, the marketing cooperative, is that like when they have the technical events where they come, like you have a sponsor and then they have these different booths and they are coming together to sell or promote their ideas, and like the little pop-up shops that happen, but it's all about organization. Like, we're going to be here in New Orleans, then we're going to be here in La Place, then we're going to be over there. Is that similar to a marketing cooperative?
Yes, it is, because it's not really defined. They don't have no definition that's really locking in there, boxing in there. It's wide open. They can do a whole lot. What you're saying, yes. That's like they have a prep type show and what have you, what they're doing in marketing, all type of goods and services, people that's in the retail or in the entertainment area. Yes, because you want to market because you see it all the time. You see it on TV. What they're doing to you, they're marketing things to you because they have to go to these people and they know how to reach you. They know exactly what you like and they know exactly what you need to have.
Okay, because I just find that right now, I guess with the pandemic, the marketing cooperative is one of those popular, I guess, cooperatives that are happening because the local vendors are getting together, and it's usually in our area, it's one person who produces it or sponsors it or organizes it, and this just go from different places. But looking at the definition, marketing output to retailers or wholesalers, that's what it reminds me of. So thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Harvey, I have a question.
Okay, I'm going on mute.
Okay.
Mr. Harvey, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What type of organization is your company?
Well, we're an association of cooperatives. We're not a cooperative. We're an association. Sometimes they will say federation of cooperatives, but we're an association of cooperatives. Our job, we organize, develop, train, and consult with cooperatives. That's what we do. We don't produce anything. We don't make anything. Our job is to make cooperatives work. That's the main thing.
Now,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is it funded by the cooperatives themselves or by state or federal funds?
Mainly a little bit of both. I like to rely on the federal funds in regards to what we have to do. It's limited, but we take it and we leverage that to do the things without having any restraints on reaching out to people. Because we found out that the USDA and other funds and other companies, they weren't reaching those small socioeconomic communities the way they should have, because they were looking in a different direction. But whenever we get funds, we go there to those particular communities. And we don't have no shingles, and we don't advertise or anything else like that. We have a newsletter that goes out periodically, but we try to reach those small communities and do things like, just like with Ron. Ron and I, been talking for the last several years and what have you, in regards to how to reach those smaller communities to get them upgraded to what's going on. So this is what we do. We actually go out there and we work with you to develop the cooperative. I mean, Monday, I'll be sitting down with some guys who are on horses. They want to do an equine cooperative. They don't know nothing about the equine cooperative. All they know, they're organized, this, that, and the other. They just want to sit there. They want to make sure that they have the right thing in place. So each time we sit there with individuals and consult with them and walk them through the whole process. We don't stop. We walk them all the way through. And the only way they leave us is that they have to just walk away. We don't leave them. Even though that we started with you 5-6 years ago, we're still part of what you're doing. You can always call us and we're going to help you to work. This is Association of Cooperatives, and this is all we do. The 22 states that we work with, I mean, we never did an inventory of how many cooperatives are involved in our network. And I'm more than sure it's quite a few thousand that's involved, because each state has so many cooperatives under them. And they work hand in hand with other large cooperatives. So our job is to get there, and as Ms. Poshia was saying, we just market ourselves with you all, because I know hopefully in the near future, Ron can get this young lady who wrote that book on the cooperatives in New Orleans, and which was amazing. I'll let Ron, discuss that at a later time, because she found cooperatives in New Orleans area. She went all the way back to the 1800s and found cooperatives. And she did the book. And
Are you talking Collective Courage?
No, it was called
Courage, or another book?
No, it was called Cooperatives in New Orleans by Dr. Ann Giesler.
Okay.
She did that. It was dealing with cooperatives on the social justice. So she
Is there a
interviewed.
fee to the cooperatives for your service?
Yes, there is. It's not the type of fee you think you're gonna have to sit down there and sign over your house to anybody. Is that we work with you based upon what's going on. It's not much, because I think a lot of stuff you get from us is all, majority of it is all pro bono. It's pro bono to help you. So it's no problem, because we're not here to rip off anybody. We're not even sell our services. When you come to us, we sit down, evaluate what you have, and say, this is what we've got to do. And based upon what goes on, to cover certain costs and what have you, because lights got to stay on, and telephone got to stay on, But other than that, no, it's not. We don't have no scale price on anything. It's just based upon what's going on, because it's open-ended. You can start and stop anytime you want. So that's no problem at all. Not at all.
So as an association of cooperatives, would you also be able to help different co-ops, like plan out their insurances that they're able to give to themselves as employees, and also, make sure that they have a retirement fund set up and watch over that? Those kind of things in the workplace, are you able to handle that as an association of cooperatives?
We can, but we don't do it directly. We will go to somebody else who has an insurance type cooperative, and see what type of plan they can do for your group. Because each one is going to be tailor-made to that particular cooperative, because some cooperatives may need more coverage than the other cooperative, or they may need more planning. So that'll be between you and that particular insurance cooperative. We can connect. Lots of times we connect dots. Most of the time we could be connecting dots when it comes to something like that.
Yeah. And you know of some cooperatives that do have a nice setup for their retirement funds that go out.
Oh, yeah. Just like
Insurance.
I said, as the only black sitting there in the leadership at this time, that's just 1919. I talked to my colleagues. I asked them how you doing it, and they tell me. They tell me. So there's no discriminatory practices there at all. I need to know, because I don't know, and they'll tell me. They say, okay, this is what we do, and this is how we do it. So it works out real well. When you guys favor, you guys favor. Okay. Anybody else? Come on out. But
I have one question. So ours in particular, out of Indianapolis, is looking to form like a creative marketing services co-op. In most cases, I've heard that that's a producer co-op, but I've also heard this new term of kind of like a tech co-op, particularly because a lot of what we do is like website, digital, mobile app based. What have you heard of any tech cooperatives, and if so, what makes them uniquely different from like a standard producer co-op?
There's several tech cooperatives. There's a lot of those going on, because the thing about it, I think with individuals in your generation, you have to look at that, because if you look at what we're doing, what I came through on the cooperative side, and things have evolved. It's just like evolutionary type thing. And now the tech cooperative has to be in there. As Stuart was talking earlier about the food cooperative, how technical it is right now, because a lot of the food cooperatives they grade their food through technology. I mean, with the AI, they can determine if you got a bad apple in a bunch, they kick it out off the conveyor belt or whatever. So a lot of that is involved. It's just a matter of connecting with those particular. Just let us know, and we'll do the research and we'll pull them out and let them know. We have somebody here that you need to talk to. I mean, this past week I connected 6 people together, two each, on things that I thought they may be able to work directly together. And come to find out, I was just surprised. I say, wow, 100% this week. And these are folks that's in our network. And I know that I'm talking to you dealing with technology right now and marketing. And I look over here, maybe Mr. Franklin or Ms. Butler, is just involved in some things. I say, wait a minute, you should be talking with them. Y'all should be talking to one another. But if y'all need my assistance for anything, I'll be glad to render it. And that's just the way it is, because I see a lot, and I look at things from the aerial. I don't look at it from the landscape. I need to see what's going on out there at all times. I'm very curious about what I do, because I don't want to see nobody get in trouble. I don't want to see nobody have anybody fail because you and Ms. Butler couldn't get together because I didn't tell you about what she had that would have benefited you, and vice versa. I will let you all know. I try to make sure that you're compatible before we step in to do anything, because we don't want to cause any ill feelings between people. So this is what we try to do. Yes, don't turn your back. They're out there. They exist. If you need information, you need to contact Ron or myself, and we'll be glad to help you, to connect with those tech cooperatives, and we'll find something that would be applicable to what you're doing, and not to give you somebody who's going to just try to take all your proprietary information and run with it and forget about you, and you're still sitting there waiting for them to give you a call back. We can't do that. Can't do that. before I go to the last slide, I just want to let you know on cooperatives, so how they really operate. There's fishing cooperatives in the South Sea Islands, over there in the South Sea Islands. When they call for a meeting, there's about 34,000 or more of those individuals over there. When they call for a meeting, about 7,000 people come to the meeting. That's the leadership that comes to the meeting. They thrive on cooperatives. We're young in cooperatives in the United States, but folks outside of us are really have been doing this for hundreds of years. And right now, they're more technology has brought them all close together. You don't hear about them because they don't publicize this over here. You got to go out there and look for it. And even some parts of Africa, you know, in certain provinces in Africa, cooperatives are there, especially for housing. And for as agriculture wise, they're still working their way through agriculture, because every time they move forward, another country try to come in and try to buy them out. And it's just something that you have to really be involved with on a daily basis to see how things are changing. And then you find the land grabbing situation comes in, you know, that affects, you know, you not having the means to have your cooperative to be a viable thing in the industry. So there's a lot that goes on. In this last slide, you know, it's the new generation. And it's just what we were talking about just now, what you were saying about the technology, the new wave of cooperative versus the old wave of cooperative. It doesn't matter if it's new or old, but guess what? It's still a cooperative. You know, just because this horse is over there, this horse may be 7 years old and this coat may come through, still a horse. It's still a horse. You got an older horse and you got a young coat that's getting ready to take that place of that stallion over there. So that's the way I view it. You know, it's just there's another generation coming under us. We got to prepare them. We got to start making room for them to come on in. We just can't sit there and block them out. No, we got to make sure to let you know, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do this. This is what you do to make it go. And this is how you bring relationships together as well. So when it's time for you to move and they move in, they got to do the things for the next generation after them. So that's the most important thing. And but I've experienced a whole lot in cooperatives, working with the universities. It allowed me to go to South America, to visit a lot of places in Brazil and Argentina, to deal with cooperatives. Not only that I work with cooperatives, I think I may be finishing up my tenure with the USDA Minority Farmers, Ranchers, and Veterans Advisory Committee. I sat there. They brought us back in July to come back to rebuild this particular Minority Farmers, Ranchers, and Veterans Advisory Committee that's dealing with a lot of things dealing with cooperatives. And it has not been nothing easy to work with, because as you all know, the farmers are having trouble with their financings and as far as getting repayments and what have you. I don't deal directly with that, but it fell into our wheelhouse that we have to work with that as well. So my thing dealing with the cooperatives has really been broad and far. And Ron knows, we laugh at times and we cry on one another shows about what we're going to do next. And but I work in those industries, and all I'm telling you all, you got to be at the table. You got to be at the table. And sometimes you may be the one that may be sitting there as the head person at the table. Cooperatives is beautiful once you do the right thing with it and handle it right. And be around the right people. Don't stop. Don't stop. It's an ongoing learning process. I want to tell you that if you're going to be in a cooperative, as long as you're there, you're going to be training, and learning and being educated. Things are changing. Just because we're doing this right now, it doesn't stop here. It does not stop here. It doesn't stop with me or anybody else, because that's the main thing I enjoy about it. I tried to get out of it about a year or so ago. It only lasted 5 days, and I was back in it again because I got some telephone calls. I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, I thought I was finished. Yeah, you may have been finished, but God wasn't finished. So that's why I'm here today, because of my relationship with Ron and a few other people and what have you. So, but I just want to tell you, Michelle, we got to do the last slide, huh? No, don't worry about it. Don't worry. You already saw it. That was the one with, it was a mix up on it, but one had my information on it and what have you. But Ron has all of that. You'll get a copy of the slides anyway, so that's Ron's going to do that. But I just want to thank you. I've enjoyed this morning, and this is my second time working with Ron on this here and working with Stuart. And the name on the screen, it's a little different from mine. I had to use a different computer this morning. But Stuart and I have a great time with one another, especially when our last names are spelled different. He has an I, he has an E, but I told Stuart his name is spelled wrong, mine spelled right, so I'm okay. But I've had fun doing this. I enjoy it. I love working with cooperatives, and I don't think I'm gonna stop working with cooperatives because this is what I enjoy doing. I'm ready to pass it on to anybody else, and Damon, I want to tell you, don't stop looking at the technology cooperative. A lot is there. They need your support. They need your help. But again, I want to thank Ron, Michelle for inviting me here this morning. But I'm still here for questions if you all have any questions for me. I'm not going nowhere. I'm just sitting in this chair talking to you all, so just having a conversation. But do I stop there, Michelle or Ron, or what else do I do?
Yeah, I mean, if no one has any more questions, you're free to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is Ron okay over there?
Ron?